In a controversial move that underscores the divisive nature of immigration policy in the United States, President Trump has invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to expedite the deportation of Venezuelan migrants. This executive order issued earlier this month targets individuals aged 14 and older who are alleged to have affiliations with the Tren de Aragua gang, a criminal organization linked to violent activities in Venezuela. The use of this archaic law, which grants the president sweeping authority to deport undocumented immigrants during wartime or invasion, raises significant constitutional questions and has ignited a fierce debate over the limits of executive power. The Alien Enemies Act has a storied history. Having been employed during World Wars I and II to justify the internment and deportation of individuals based on their ancestry. Critics of Trump's recent actions argue that this law should not be utilized in a time when there is no official state of war or invasion. Legal experts have pointed out that the administration's interpretation of the law may be overly broad, as it requires a demonstrable link between the individuals being targeted and the actions of a foreign government, which in this case remains tenuous at best. Despite an immediate federal court order from Judge James E. Boasberg to halt the deportations, the Trump administration proceeded with the removal of 238 Venezuelan migrants, sending them to a mega prison in El Salvador. The administration's defiance of the court's ruling has raised alarms among legal scholars and civil rights advocates, who fear it could set a dangerous precedent for executive overreach. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, maintained that the administration acted within its rights, asserting that the courts lacked jurisdiction over the president's management of foreign relations. Judge Boasberg expressed skepticism regarding the administration's legal rationale, questioning how the deportation of alleged gang members could be justified without a clear connection to the Venezuelan government or an established state of war. His concerns reflect a growing unease within the judiciary about the ramifications of unchecked executive power, particularly in matters as sensitive as immigration policy. The implications of this executive order extend beyond the immediate deportations. The administration's actions have the potential to create a constitutional crisis. As the balance of power between the executive and judicial branches comes under scrutiny, critics argue that such a significant shift in policy not only endangers the lives of vulnerable migrants but also undermines the rule of law and the principles of due process that are foundational to American democracy. As the administration navigates this contentious legal landscape, the future of its immigration policy remains uncertain. The deportation of these Venezuelan migrants has highlighted the complexities of U.S. immigration law and the challenges of addressing gang violence without resorting to measures that may violate the rights of individuals. The ongoing legal battles could shape the direction of immigration policy in the United States for years to come, as courts grapple with the limits of executive authority and the rights of those seeking refuge from violence and persecution. Looking ahead, it is crucial for lawmakers and advocates to engage in meaningful dialogue about immigration reform that balances national security concerns with humane treatment of migrants. The current situation serves as a stark reminder of the need for a comprehensive approach to immigration that respects human rights while addressing the challenges posed by criminal organizations and violence abroad. As this story continues to unfold, the interplay between the branches of government and the fate of countless individuals hangs in the balance. In a week marked by notable developments across various sectors, the intersection of governance and societal stability has taken center stage. From potential tax revenue declines amid turmoil at the IRS to Germany's strategic withdrawal from South Sudan, the implications of these events resonate deeply within the frameworks of economic policy and international relations. Recent reports indicate that the Internal Revenue Service (IRS) may face a staggering 10% drop in tax revenue, a situation exacerbated by ongoing internal turmoil and staffing shortages. Experts attribute this decline to the agency's challenges in adapting to evolving tax regulations and the impact of previous budget cuts that have hindered its operational capacity. The IRS's ability to effectively collect taxes has been compromised, said a tax policy analyst, underscoring the potential long-term ramifications for federal funding and public services. The implications of this revenue shortfall extend beyond mere numbers. It could signify a shift in the federal government's ability to finance essential programs, thereby impacting millions of Americans who rely on these services. Simultaneously, the geopolitical landscape has seen Germany's decision to close its embassy in South Sudan, reflecting a grave acknowledgement of the escalating crisis within the country. As South Sudan teeters on the brink of civil war, this diplomatic withdrawal highlights the precarious nature of international relations in regions plagued by instability. A German foreign ministry spokesperson noted, "The safety of our personnel is paramount and the unfolding situation on the ground necessitates this cautious approach." This move not only affects German nationals but also raises questions about the international community's commitment to addressing humanitarian crises in volatile regions. In another significant development, a federal judge has challenged the acting head of the Social Security Administration over threats to close the agency. The judge's intervention comes at a critical juncture where uncertainty looms over the future of Social Security benefits for millions of Americans, particularly the elderly and disabled populations. Critics argue that such threats undermine public trust in essential government services. Legal experts suggest that this confrontation may set a precedent for future administrative actions and their judicial review. The judiciary plays a crucial role in ensuring that agencies uphold their responsibilities to the public, remarked a legal analyst, emphasizing the importance of accountability in federal institutions. Amid these pressing issues, the realm of medical literature also bids farewell to a notable voice. A writer known for unraveling complex medical mysteries is stepping away after nearly 2 decades of insightful contributions. This farewell serves as a reminder of the importance of narrative in understanding health and medicine, an area rich with intricacies that often go unnoticed. Readers reflect on the writer's ability to illuminate the human experience behind medical challenges, a testament to the power of storytelling in the field of healthcare. As these stories unfold, they collectively underscore the intricate relationship between governance, societal stability, and the human experience. The coming months will be critical in determining how these challenges will be addressed. Whether through legislative reforms, diplomatic engagement, or public discourse, the paths chosen will shape the future landscape of both domestic and international arenas. The world watches closely as these developments continue to evolve, reminding us that the interplay between policies and people remains at the heart of our global narrative. As the world continues to grapple with complex socio-political challenges and evolving personal narratives, recent articles from the Wall Street Journal illuminate critical issues shaping contemporary society. From the harrowing experiences of Ukrainians fleeing conflict to shifting attitudes towards marriage and personal health, these stories reflect profound shifts in human behavior and societal norms. In Ukraine, the ongoing conflict with Russia has forced many civilians into perilous retreats, revealing the raw human cost of war. As reported, individuals recount their harrowing journeys, often under the threat of violence and uncertainty. One Ukrainian evacuee poignantly stated, "Keep moving to survive," encapsulating the urgency and desperation felt by those fleeing their homes. These accounts not only highlight the immediate dangers faced by civilians but also underline the long-lasting psychological impacts of such displacement. The ramifications of this conflict extend beyond immediate survival. They influence global geopolitics and humanitarian efforts, raising questions about international response and support for those affected. Meanwhile, in the United States, societal attitudes towards marriage are experiencing a significant transformation. An essay featured in the Wall Street Journal discusses the growing trend of American women choosing to forego traditional marriage. Factors such as economic independence, shifting gender roles, and personal fulfillment are driving this change. Many women are prioritizing their careers and personal goals over marital commitments. This evolution reflects broader societal shifts challenging long-standing norms about relationships and family structures. The impacts of this trend are far-reaching, potentially altering the fabric of American society and influencing future generations' views on marriage and partnership. In a related vein, discussions around health and wellness are also gaining traction, as exemplified by personal narratives surrounding weight management. An enlightening essay describes an individual's journey post-weight loss medication, revealing insights into the complexities of maintaining health and wellness without pharmaceutical assistance. This experience emphasizes the importance of lifestyle changes and self-motivation, resonating with many who seek sustainable health solutions. The narrative reflects a growing awareness of personal responsibility in health matters, highlighting the need for accessible resources and support systems for those navigating similar challenges. These narratives collectively underscore a transformative period marked by resilience, autonomy, and a redefinition of traditional roles. As societal norms continue to evolve, the implications for individuals and communities are profound. The stories of those impacted by conflict, the challenges faced in personal relationships, and the pursuit of health and wellness all point to a future where adaptability and personal choice play crucial roles in shaping lives. Looking ahead, the ongoing developments in Ukraine will undoubtedly continue to capture global attention, as will the changing dynamics of marriage and personal health in America. As these trends unfold, they promise to provoke further discussion and reflection on the human experience in an increasingly complex world. In the evolving landscape of global finance, the United States dollar has long maintained its position as the world's dominant currency. However, recent political developments and economic shifts are raising questions about the dollar's future as the unrivaled king of currencies. Barry Eichengreen, a professor of economics and political science at the University of California, Berkeley, explores these dynamics, suggesting that the dollar's fate lies not merely in economic data but in the actions and decisions of individuals shaping policy. Historically, the dollar's supremacy can be attributed to various structural factors, including the size of the U.S. economy and the depth of its financial markets. Many analysts argue that as long as the U.S. remains the world's leading economy, the dollar will continue to be viewed as a safe haven. Eichengreen, however, contends that the historical context reveals a more complex picture. He emphasizes that the rise and fall of currencies are often determined by the actions of key individuals and institutions. This perspective is especially pertinent as the U.S. grapples with a leadership that questions the foundational tenets of its financial dominance. Eichengreen draws parallels between the current political climate and the historical narratives surrounding the establishment of the Federal Reserve. Pioneers like Paul Warburg and Harry Dexter White played crucial roles in crafting the institutions that solidified the dollar's status post-World War II. Warburg, in particular, was instrumental in promoting the idea of a central bank that could underpin the dollar's international use by enhancing market liquidity. His efforts culminated in the creation of the Federal Reserve, which allowed the U.S. to compete with Britain's sterling as a global currency. The Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944, largely influenced by White, further entrenched the dollar's position, establishing it as the sole fully convertible currency linked to gold. This framework not only facilitated the reconstruction of post-war Europe through initiatives like the Marshall Plan but also positioned the dollar at the center of international trade. Eichengreen argues that the U.S. benefited from its geopolitical alliances, leading to a deep-rooted trust in the dollar that has persisted despite fluctuations in economic performance. However, recent trends suggest a potential erosion of this confidence. The second Trump administration has sparked concerns about the future of international cooperation and the consistency of U.S. economic policy. As Eichengreen notes, the U.S. share of global exports has significantly decreased from 18% in the 1950s to around 11% today. While this shift reflects a more interconnected global economy, there are fears that aggressive trade policies and tariffs could further diminish the dollar's standing. Moreover, the U.S. government's increasing reliance on sanctions as a tool of foreign policy poses a risk to the dollar's status. The number of individuals subject to U.S. sanctions has surged, prompting countries to consider diversifying their reserves away from the dollar. Eichengreen highlights the importance of maintaining cooperative relationships with allies, as these partnerships have historically supported the dollar's dominance. The potential for discord. particularly in light of recent U.S. foreign policy decisions, raises questions about the dollar's appeal as a reserve currency. Compounding these challenges is the U.S.'s fiscal outlook. Projections indicate that the national debt could rise dramatically in the coming decades, potentially undermining confidence in the dollar's value. Eichengreen warns that if the U.S. fails to demonstrate fiscal responsibility, it may jeopardize the dollar's attractiveness as a stable store of value. Furthermore, any attempts to diminish the independence of the Federal Reserve could further erode trust among international investors. Eichengreen's analysis ultimately points to a critical juncture for the dollar. The future of the currency is intertwined with the political climate, the decisions made by leadership, and the willingness of American institutions to uphold their commitments. As the world watches how the U.S. navigates these challenges, the dollar's status as the preeminent global currency remains uncertain. Should the current trajectory continue without a concerted effort to reinforce alliances and economic stability, the dollar may find itself facing unprecedented competition from other currencies. In conclusion, while the dollar has long held the throne of global currencies, the interplay of domestic politics, international relations, and economic policies will determine whether it can maintain its reign in the future. The coming years will be pivotal as the U.S. grapples with these complex dynamics, potentially reshaping the landscape of global finance for generations to come. In a world increasingly shaped by geopolitical tensions and humanitarian crises, the situation in the Middle East remains a focal point of global concern. As of March 22, 2025, recent escalations in the Israel-Gaza conflict have reignited fears of prolonged violence. With Israeli forces intensifying operations in southern Lebanon and Gaza amid widespread calls for a ceasefire. This latest round of conflict follows a series of military actions that have resulted in significant civilian casualties, particularly among children in Gaza, leading to mounting international outcries for humanitarian intervention. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has recently announced intentions to seize more ground in Gaza, explicitly warning Hamas of the potential annexation of parts of the territory. This statement underscores the Israeli government's increasingly aggressive posture as it seeks to expand its territorial control amid ongoing military operations. Netanyahu's actions have been met with fierce criticism both domestically and internationally, with thousands of Israelis taking to the streets to protest against what they perceive as the government's war on democracy. Demonstrators argue that the current military strategy not only threatens regional stability but also undermines Israel's democratic values. The humanitarian implications of these military actions cannot be overstated. Reports indicate a soaring child death toll as a result of airstrikes on Gaza, raising urgent questions about the impact of such violence on a generation of young Palestinians. Activists like Shaima Al-Obeidi, who recently spoke to children in Gaza, relay their poignant messages: "They just want to live." Such sentiments echo the broader calls for a cessation of hostilities and a renewed focus on diplomatic solutions that prioritize humanitarian needs over military objectives. On a regional level, the implications of Israel's military strategy extend beyond the immediate conflict. The violence has caused ripples throughout the Middle East, exacerbating existing tensions and affecting neighboring countries such as Lebanon and Syria. Calls for a halt to what many are describing as an endless war are growing louder, with local and international leaders urging for negotiations to resolve the underlying issues fueling the conflict. The situation remains precarious as any miscalculation could lead to a broader regional conflagration. As the international community grapples with the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict, the need for a concerted effort to address humanitarian concerns and promote lasting peace is more pressing than ever. The cries for peace from both sides reflect a deep-seated desire for an end to violence and a future where coexistence is possible. Observers are left to ponder whether the current trajectory will lead to a sustainable resolution or if the region is destined for continued cycles of conflict. In conclusion, the recent developments in the Israel-Gaza conflict serve as a reminder of the fragility of peace in the Middle East. As military actions escalate and humanitarian crises deepen, the urgency for diplomatic engagement grows. The coming weeks may prove pivotal in shaping the future of not only Israel and Palestine but also the broader Middle Eastern landscape as the world awaits a response from global leaders to foster a path toward peace and reconciliation. In a thrilling display of resilience and skill, the Woodland Warriors clinched a dramatic walk-off victory against Gardner South Wilmington GSW, underscoring the excitement of early season high school baseball. The game held at Woodland School saw the Warriors improve their record to 1-1 for the season, thanks in large part to a series of errors by the Panthers in the final inning, which set the stage for Bresden Simons' game-winning single. Simons was a standout performer, finishing the game with an impressive 3 hits, 3 RBIs, and a key contribution that sealed the win for Woodland. Connor Dodge also made a significant impact with 2 singles, while Theron Esmond contributed a double and 2 RBIs. Braden Matsko rounded out the offense with another RBI. On the mound, Matsko earned the win after coming in as a relief pitcher, striking out 2 in his 1 inning of work following a solid 6-inning performance from starter Nolan Price, who recorded 8 strikeouts despite giving up 6 earned runs. In other notable matchups, the Marquette Crusaders continued their strong start to the season with an 11-1 victory over Genoa Kingston during the Play the Turf Jamboree in Jacksonville. Marquette's offense exploded in the first inning, scoring 5 runs. Fueled by standout performances from Jackson Higgins, who drove in 5 runs, and Anthony Couch, who added 2 RBIs and showcased his speed with 3 stolen bases. Pitchers Easton DeBernardi and Alec Novotny combined to limit Genoa Kingston to just 1 hit over 5 innings, with DeBernardi striking out 5 in his 3-inning stint. Streeter also made headlines with a 10-3 win over Sandwich, thanks to a dominant performance by pitcher Clay Christoph, who struck out 13 batters in a complete game. The Bulldogs' offensive efforts were led by Cole Winterroad, who had a double and drove in 4 runs, while Jake Hagee contributed a homer and 2 RBIs. Newark secured a victory over Seneca, scoring 9 runs and showcasing a balanced offensive attack led by Landon Begovac, who recorded 3 singles and 2 RBIs. The Norsemen's pitching was equally impressive, with McBroom earning the win and striking out 8 over 4 innings. In the realm of softball, Riverdale dominated Marquette with a 13-2 win, highlighted by a 10-run 3rd inning that turned the tide in the game. Meanwhile, Ulville triumphed over South Beloit, with Addie Scherer delivering a stellar pitching performance that included 11 strikeouts and a walk-off 2-run double. As the high school sports season progresses, these early matches not only set the tone for team dynamics but also build momentum as teams strive for success in playoffs ahead. The performances observed this past week paint a promising picture for student athletes, showcasing their hard work and competitive spirit. With more games on the horizon, fans will be eager to see how these teams continue to evolve and compete in their respective seasons.